Hi, everybody who's joined us. If you haven't yet already, if you want to introduce yourself in the chat with your name, your pronouns, and where you live, that would be great. We're going to go ahead and get started with this program. We have an ASL interpreter with us today, Anne. So if you need her, you can pin her to the screen as needed using the top 3 dots on her screen. And we're really, really excited about this program today. We're going to be learning all about the Capital Development Board's Art and Architecture program. And get started, we're really thrilled to have Meredith Dye with us today, the Art and Architecture Program Coordinator, who's going to be giving you the details on how the program works. And we also have 3 artists who've joined us who've had work that's been commissioned or purchased through the program. So they'll be sharing more about their work and their experience that they had with the application process. And we have reserved some time at the end of the program for Q&A from all of you. But before we dive in, I want to give you a little bit of an overview of Arts Alliance Illinois and our help desk, which is bringing this program today. My name is Megan Lewis. I am the public funding navigator for Arts Alliance Illinois, and we are a statewide arts advocacy organization with members across all disciplines and sizes in Illinois. Through our advocacy and work and our connection to resources, we're working to build a thriving creative sector statewide. At our help desk, we support creatives in finding and applying for public funding. We're here to make sure that the institutions and the individuals in the arts and culture sector can thrive. You can visit our website and chat with one of our staff members. You can check out our running list of funding opportunities and more. The slide that you're seeing right now talks about what we're focusing on right now at Arts Alliance with our advocacy work, our program work on the creative worker support, promoting arts education in K through 12 public schools throughout Illinois, the public funding navigation program, which is bringing you this webinar today, and then also the work that we do to continue doing research that helps to advance the sector. We know that the creatives in downstate Illinois and on the south and west side of Chicago face a disproportionate barrier to accessing resources that we need. So we provide these virtual programs to make sure that everyone can be connected with the resources that they need to be able to thrive. You can reach out to the help desk to get more assistance with any questions that you have. You can go to our website at support.artsalliance.org and you can reach us that way. So to go ahead and get us started, I'm going to pass this over first to Meredith, who's going to be giving an overview of the program and how it works. So take it away, Meredith.
Thank you so much, Megan. I want to give a huge thank you again to Megan Lewis to spearheading this webinar, really spreading the word about my program. And then also thanks to Jess for facilitating all of the technology and the link and invites for today. So thank you so much to Arts Alliance. Okay. So good morning, everybody. I am Meredith Dye, the Art and Architecture Coordinator for the Capital Development Board. I have been with this agency for 3 years. I am based in Springfield, but manage projects throughout Illinois. A little bit of background about me. I have my bachelor's and master's in art education. I taught middle school art for 6 years, and I used to remodel homes with my husband. Today, I'm going to provide an overview of the Art and Architecture program with a goal to increase awareness. My hope is that any artist interested in public art has the opportunity to share their talents with the state of Illinois. If this program seems daunting, I want to reassure you that I am here to help every step of the way. I pride myself on being informative and accommodating. Please spread the word about this program to anyone you know, whether it's a new artist, a part-time artist, a veteran artist, anybody willing and able who want to participate. We welcome everybody. So today I'm going to talk about briefly the history of the program. So starting with the Capital Development Board and the Art and Architecture. I may say CDB for Capital Development Board or AIA for Art and Architecture, just as abbreviations. I'll talk about the program roles, how to apply, the design proposal process, artwork commissions, resources, and then my contact information as well. So the Capital Development Board is an operational state agency, just like IDOT or the EPA or the Department of Revenue, for example. Many don't know that we are a state agency, being that we don't start with Illinois, just like the Illinois EPA, for example. So the CDB Act was enabled into legislation in 1972. CDB manages the construction and renovation of 77 agencies, totaling over 8,700 state-owned facilities across Illinois, from historic universities to operational state agencies, public parks to fairgrounds. Through responsible project management and innovative design, CDB aims to improve the quality of life in our communities with a focus on creating safe, sustainable, and accessible buildings that serve the diverse needs of all Illinoisans. So if you think about it, Capital Development Board does all vertical construction throughout the state of state-owned facilities. And if you think of IDOT, for example, they do all roadways. The Art and Architecture program is Section 14 of the CDB Act. The program began in 1979. So we are in legislation. The money should always be there, hopefully, for artwork. It is the purpose of this act to provide the promotion and preservation of the arts by securing suitable works of art for the adornment of public buildings constructed or subjected to major renovation by the state or which utilize state funds, and thereby reflecting the diverse cultural heritage of Illinois, with emphasis on Illinois artists. CDB budgets half of 1% of the amount authorized and appropriated for construction or reconstruction for artwork. So since 1979, we've purchased or commissioned over 1,000 pieces of artwork by over 450 Illinois artists. Artwork is displayed throughout Illinois. Locations include colleges and universities, veterans' homes, highway rest areas, and so much more. I review the construction project scope statements to assess whether it is eligible for AIA. The qualifying factors for artwork include if the construction budget is greater than or equal to $1 million, if it is accessible to the general public, if it is a permanent structure primarily intended for human services or occupations, and if it's a rehab, reno, or repair, the project has to meet the above qualifications, as well as the work must impact the entire structure and not a subsystem like a roof repair or a parking lot or an abatement, for example. So here's an example of the construction budget. If it's $28 million, half of 1% would mean $140,000 is allocated for artwork. So the lowest possible budget, if it's a $1 million construction budget, we would have a $5,000 artwork budget. And then it goes increasingly up from there. We have various options of how we can spend the artwork funds. The first two are the most common. Number one being commissions. So a request for qualifications, or an RFQ, for a commission opportunity is publicly advertised with no specific recipient list. It is open to all Illinois artists living and working in Illinois. The second most common is artwork purchases. So an RFQ is publicly advertised to purchase existing artwork within established parameters, open to all artists living and working in Illinois. So those parameters are typically two-dimensional or three-dimensional, suitable for hanging on a wall. Those are the most common artwork purchases that we'll see. And then the second two are extremely rare. they've only happened once since I've been around. So a limited competition is when an RFQ is sent to a predetermined number of artists who demonstrate capabilities within established parameters. And a direct commission would be a commission or purchase offered directly to an artist or team recognized as an expert in a specific medium. The client agency must make a compelling artistic argument for a direct commission. And I'll explain more further, but the client agency would be like at the university or the veterans home or the state park. That is where the artwork is located and the owners of the artwork. So we've had commissions from $6,000 all the way up to $500,000, and artwork purchases anywhere from $125 up to $8,000 or more. So there's a very wide range of scope and amounts that can be spent with our allocated funds. Here's a project example explaining how funds were originally allocated and how they were spent in the end. So in 2014, $179,635 were obligated for art for project number 810-056-024, which is College of Lake County Adult Education Building in Waukegan. So every project has that specific 9-digit number that changes. So we received the funds in 2014, and then in 2022, the call for artwork commission was advertised. 4 semifinalists each received $2,000, and the winning artist received $100,000. The artwork was installed in December 2023. The artist procured his own plaque, and the contingency funds were not needed, that you can see on this line. And so because those were not needed, I could add them to the artwork purchase line. And so in March 2024, the call for artwork purchases was advertised. 36 pieces were purchased from 26 artists, totaling $71,635. So we start off with a draft of our budget, how we allocate the funds, but it can always be changed along the way. So regarding the budget, the design proposal payment is on a sliding scale. So the higher the artwork budget or contract, the higher the design proposal payment. The artwork budget is all inclusive, so that covers your project management, design, materials, fabrication, tools, meetings, travel, installation, insurance, subcontractors, delivery, documentation, among other things. Regarding artwork purchases, the listed price in your portfolio is what you paid. So that price would include your artwork, the potential for shipping and handling, and framing costs if applicable. If the selected piece of work, you would invoice for that work what was in your portfolio. It does not include tax, so state procured artwork and materials is tax exempt. So whatever you list in your portfolio is what you would be paid. So ensure that your purchase price, if it is for an artwork purchase project, that your purchase price is something that you're comfortable with and that covers all of your fees. So again, materials and artwork procured with state funds are tax exempt. And something that really helps the artwork budget is that the construction project is responsible for infrastructure. So they will add extra supports or blocking in the walls or ceilings to help support your artwork. And when possible, they would be responsible for a sculpture foundation or footings for an exterior piece, for example. They will also do the conduit and wiring leading up to the artwork site. So those are big ticket items that are very helpful that the artists typically do not have to pay for within their budget. All right, so program roles. The AIA coordinator. So I manage an open and fair artwork selection process that is efficient, effective, and meets all policies, procedures, guidelines, and legal mandates. So I'm the primary liaison between all stakeholders and participants. I administer the creation and advertisement of projects. I assemble and facilitate the fine arts review committees, which are each project specific. I negotiate contracts and process payments, and I ensure compliance with all relevant statutes, including the CDB Act, Open Meetings Act, and state ethics certifications. So on average, I actively manage about 20 projects that are at varying stages, but there's an additional 70 or so that actually has funding, and they're just in line to be utilized down the road. Okay, so the steering committee is prevalent throughout the entire AIA process. This steering committee consists of the client agency and AE firm. So the client agency, again, is the location or owner of the artwork in the end. And the AE firm is the architect and engineer firm who's actually designing the construction or remodel. So representatives from those two groups steer this artwork with my guidance. So they decide the most appropriate location for the artwork, typically including preferred media, theme, and general dimensions. Again, I guide them through this process based on past experience and past projects to make sure that they're getting the most bang for their buck, but also that the artists, let me rephrase that, so that we're not putting artists in a bad situation, requiring artists to give them the moon when they have a very small budget. So I try to keep their expectations realistic and make sure that it's in a public space and that it's suitable for the building. The architect and engineers provide drawings, renderings, and specifications of the building and site. So that is essential not only for the RFQ that I post, but also for semifinalists and winning artists so that they can design accordingly to the building structure. So artists, you must live and work in Illinois, but your subcontractors do not have a residency requirement. So the AIA program defines an artist as a skilled practitioner that generates original designs and concepts from creative works that reflect form, beauty, and aesthetic perception. Subcontractors are defined as those providing technical implementation, such as construction, fabrication, assembly, or installation for portions or all of a product under the direct supervision and control of the artist. So employees of the client agency are not eligible to apply. So it's very common for universities or colleges, the faculty and staff in the art departments may be interested, but they are not eligible to apply for their own agency. Contracted artists must submit shop drawings, samples, or maquettes, as well as stamped engineer drawings in specific circumstances. And artwork must comply with ADA and health life safety regulations. So the Fine Arts Review Committee. Each project-specific committee reviews applicants' portfolios and recommends artists to contract and/or artwork to purchase. The committee is subject to the Open Meetings Act. Its members are unpaid and must complete state of Illinois ethics training requirements. The Open Meetings Act specifies that the committee must meet in person, the public can attend these meetings, and notices and meeting minutes must be made available to the public. The members of this committee, it's a 4-person committee, are designees from the client agency, the designing architecture firm, the Illinois Arts Council, and the Illinois State Museum. I facilitate this committee, but I do not vote. So the selection criteria that the committee focuses on is important. So artists and artworks are selected on their aesthetic nature and appropriateness to the site and project criteria. Aesthetic excellence is the inherent aesthetic quality of the artwork and its compatibility in relationship with the site, as well as the way the public is intended to respond and interact with it. Relevance marks whether the artwork is appropriate for and sensitive to the chosen location, including surrounding architecture, local history, and community attitudes and concerns. The elements and principles of art and design are the basic building blocks of all fine arts, which assess technical skill. Durability and permanence regard resistance to theft, vandalism, and weathering, as well as structural sustainability and maintenance requirements must be considered, as the work is intended to be permanent. And on a side note with that, just so all artists know, your artwork is intended to last forever. It's intended to be permanent. So even if the building that it's going into or associated with, if that building no longer exists, your artwork will still exist. It will be relocated at that same agency. So that is I think, a very important fact with our program, is that your work is permanent and will last even if the construction project that it was tied to is no longer there. So moving on, public safety is imperative so that the artwork avoids unsafe conditions, materials, or factors. Technical feasibility is when the artist can provide convincing evidence of his or her ability to successfully complete the artwork as proposed. And past performance may be considered regarding the artist's performance under previous contracts, including success in meetings, established timelines, budgets, communication, and so forth. Okay, so how to apply, the most important part. The request for qualifications, or RFQ, is the document that I draft that advertises an available project, so a commission or a purchase, in which to apply, and details the construction project, artwork budget, location, objectives, and how to apply. I post projects on the Commission Opportunities page on the CDB website, where you can click on the RFQ link. Please read through the RFQ very carefully. I also provide the RFQ to the Illinois Arts Council and the Arts Alliance Illinois to advertise. The client agency and AE also spread the word. Later, I will show you the webpage where you can sign up for auto notifications. So whenever an RFQ is posted, you will be sent an email. I'll also show you the Commission Opportunities page. So the next two slides outlines your application, which is your portfolio. So there's not a separate registration process with our agency. You simply email your portfolio for the intended project, and that is your application. So to apply, like I said, you send your portfolio to the public email address, and that is located at the top, cdb.artinarchitecture@illinois.gov. So to begin, your portfolio will have a cover letter, which is your letter of intent or artist statement. Always include the project in which you're applying, as well as your contact information. And to note, your cover letter is not a proposal. We do not want proposals. This is to introduce you and the work that you've previously done, not your proposal for the project you're applying for. That is a separate process. Second, your portfolio will include your resume. If you are applying as a team, then you would need to include a resume for each team member. Regarding a team, that would mean it would be a fairly equal artistic design between the 2 or 3 or more of you. If you are the lead artist, you don't necessarily need to include all of your assistants or designers or anything like that. You could apply as a single artist, and then it's your discretion on who you subcontract later. So I don't need the information to subcontractors or assistants or anything like that. That's just a side note. You can also include any support material, but please limit this to 1 page, whether it's press clippings or you have an artist spotlight, anything that might be relevant to the project that could be helpful when the committee decides. All right, so your artwork images, you can submit up to 15 images, and that includes individuals or teams. So if you do have a multi-artist team, you could decide how you divide that 15 up amongst both of you, or more of you. So your artwork images, 1 image per JPEG. The pixel dimensions could be approximately 600 by 800 pixels. The image resolution needs to be between 72 to 300 per inch, and the maximum file size would be 1 megabyte. You don't have to abide by this exactly, but just keep in mind, you want your images to be as clear and presentable to the committee as you want them to be. So, but then also, I'm consolidating all information amongst all applicants. So that's why we have a maximum file size, but make sure that the image is of quality so that it's not blurry for the committee to view. Please name your images, last name, first name, image number, 1 through 15. You do not have to submit 15. You could submit 3, 8, 10, as you have up to 15 images. You will also need to have a corresponding artwork image list. So this list is just one document, ideally just 1 to 2 pages, but no images. It's explaining the images that you've submitted. So the title, media, dimensions, the date, location. If you want to include the budget or a brief description, you're welcome to. And then if it is an artwork purchase project, your image list would include the purchase prices. So again, that's the artwork, the potential for shipping and handling, and the framing cost. So whatever you list on your image list for a purchase price is what you would be paid in the end if you are selected. But again, if it's a project for a commission, you don't have to include any kind of numbers or costs if you don't want to. All right, so please note, do not send in design proposals. Attach all files to the email. So do not include artwork images within the body of the email. JPEGs are required for artwork images. PDFs or Word files are required for your documents. So your resume, cover letter, additional support material, image list would be PDFs or Word documents. And again, name your documents, last name, first name, and the type of document. So, you know, it could be Dye, Meredith, cover letter, or I have Kala Frida cover letter here, or image list, for example. These specifications for your portfolio are concise and things that you can work on throughout the year. It doesn't have to be all at once, right at the deadline of a project. You could include artwork images from 15, 20 years ago. If it applies or you think it shows your skills in a specific field that relates to the project, we welcome any images that you want to provide. It does not have to be current work. If you're interested in the project and you want to show us your skills and interests, then please provide images that relate. And again, these are specific requirements for your portfolio. And if you follow them, it's so greatly helpful for me because I'm a department of one. So if there's a lot of back and forth emailing to correct your portfolio, that takes time away from doing other things. So it's very helpful if you follow these guidelines. Once you do submit or email me the full portfolio, I will respond to you saying that you've been added to a specific list. So if you're applying, like right now we have a project for UIS here in Springfield. If you submit your portfolio, then I will, a correct portfolio, a full portfolio, I will email you back saying you've been added to the applicant list for UIS. So you will always get a response back to know that you are an applicant. Now, previous applicants, if you have previously applied to the program You do not have to submit a new portfolio every time. So you simply email a cover letter for the project in which you're applying, and that new cover letter will be added to your most recent portfolio on file. So you can update your portfolio at any time, even if there are no projects available. You can submit a brand new portfolio as a new artist at any time, even if there are no projects available. And then if one becomes available that you're interested in, simply email that cover letter to me. Now, we do have artists who have applied many times, and each time they might change their portfolio slightly. So if it is a situation where you just send me a cover letter saying you're going to apply for a new project, but your portfolios might have some different images in it, I'll probably ask you to consolidate which images you specifically want for that project. So there may be some communication back and forth about that. But again, if you've previously applied, you don't have to go through the whole process again. Just email that cover letter for the specific project you like or want to apply for. Okay, so now to actually selecting artists. So the Fine Arts Review Committee meeting number 1. So RFQs are generally advertised for 8 weeks. Prior to the deadline, I assemble a consolidated portfolio book of all applicants. So during those 8 weeks, as artists are sending me their applications, which is your portfolio, I will start consolidating in alphabetical order. I provide the committee that portfolio book 1 week in advance of the meeting. At the meeting, I display all portfolio images and the committee discusses, referencing back to the portfolio documents. After several rounds of narrowing down applicants and discussion, the committee votes to select at least 3 semifinalists to receive design proposal contracts or votes for specific artwork to purchase. I then email all applicants the results, and the semifinalists for a commission receive a design proposal contract, and artists selected for artwork purchases receive acquisition instructions. All right, design proposal, congratulations, you are a semifinalist. So what now? So after the semifinalists receive their contract, I schedule a pre-proposal meeting to jumpstart the process so artists can develop informed proposals. The semifinalists, coordinator, and steering committee virtually meet to discuss the timeline and due date, the construction project, their artwork budget, location and objectives, the presentation expectations. I'll give you the contact information for the person you can schedule a site visit with. It's very important that if possible, the semifinalists can actually visit the site where the work's going to be, or even if the building is not under construction or not there yet, you could at least visit the area and get to know the committee, not the committee, the client agency representative, and again, just to develop more informed proposals. At the end of this meeting, there is a Q&A. So the semifinalists have a chance to ask the steering committee any questions that will help them with their proposal. After this meeting, I do provide a package, including the meeting minutes, an architectural package of site plans or building specifications, because again, we want to make sure that you have everything you need to create an informed proposal to have your best foot forward. Okay, so the design proposal itself, you have 12 weeks generally to develop your proposal, which will detail your concept, fabrication, your timeline, installation process, any subcontractors that you're going to hire, the maintenance of the piece, and a breakdown of your budget. Your payment is submitted for processing after emailing your completed proposal to me. So you'll have your 12 weeks to create your proposal. You'll email your proposal to me. Then I will submit your invoice for processing. And then we'll meet with the committee for your actual presentation. To note, the committee will not review your proposal prior to the presentation meeting. So many artists have very detailed presentations or proposals. And then when they come to the presentation meeting, they might gloss over a lot of it. So I want to make sure that you all know that your presentation to the committee is the first time they're seeing your proposal. So be as detailed and specific as possible. I don't want all of your 12 weeks of hard work to go to waste with just a summary at the actual meeting. So again, the Fine Arts Review Committee meeting number 2 is the actual presentation. And I want to make note that with any meeting, whether virtual or in person, I accommodate everyone's schedule. I pull everybody's availability, and I take into account, like when I'm making agendas, the drive times for some of the artists or your work schedule. So just know that it's not a one date and that's it. I will pull availability or send many rounds of dates until everybody involved is happy and available for a specific date. So the second meeting is where you will present in person, and you will also provide drawings, samples, or maquettes. These tangible items are incredibly helpful to the committee. Artists have 20 minutes to present, followed by 10 minutes of discussion and questioning with the committee. The committee votes for a winning artist at the close of the meeting, and the decision is then sent to the board chair of the Illinois Arts Council to concur. So after I receive the concurrence back, semifinalists are notified of the results, and the winner receives an artwork contract. All right, artwork commission. So congratulations, you are the winning artist. So after executing the artwork contract, you will receive an authorization to proceed. I host a virtual kickoff meeting to kick off the artwork process. It's a chance for you to talk with the steering committee again after you've officially won. We can discuss the timeline, if there's any adjustments in the construction schedule, discuss your winning proposal, and if there are any tweaks or design edits that might need to be done. Your payment is based on specific benchmarks outlined in the contract. Here are a couple examples of some benchmarks. You typically, depending on the size of the contract, of the amount, benchmarks, you might get 3 payments or you might get 6 or 7 throughout the duration of the process. So payment 1 is always the execution of the contract. Another one could be the commencement of fabrication or installation. And always the last will be the final acceptance from the client agency. So again, that's the agency where the artwork is located, or the owners of the artwork in the end, and they have to sign off that they're satisfied with the completed work. It is essential to coordinate installation logistics with the steering committee and the construction project managers and the contractors. So the construction contractors may still be on site as well. So we have to coordinate with everybody involved. Artwork must be installed after substantial completion of construction. We want to make sure that 90% or more of construction is complete before your work is involved, because we do not want any damage to your completed artwork. Liability insurance is required while working on a state site, and subcontractors, so any of your installers or assistants, you must pay them prevailing wage while working on a state site. So whatever agreement or contract you have with them, ensure that you are paying them with prevailing wages. All right, completion. So after receiving final acceptance from the client agency, you have a 1-year warranty on your artwork. After that year, the client agency is solely responsible for maintaining the artwork according to your maintenance manual. So again, going back to those payment benchmarks, submitting a maintenance manual is one of those benchmarks that I always include. That outlines your artist statement, information about the artwork, the construction, and everything like that, but also how you want it maintained so that the client agency maintaining it to your standards. The client agency is the owner and steward of the artwork, but the artist retains copyright. Here are some resources available. So the Capital Development Board Act, again, Art and Architecture is Section 14. The Art and Architecture website on CDB's website, a link to the Illinois Arts Council, and a link to Arts Alliance Illinois. So this presentation I will post on the website, so you always have access to that. And again, thank you. I'm going to show you the website here in a second, but a huge thank you again for joining today. And here's my contact information. This is on the website as well, but it will be in this presentation posted on the website. Okay. So I'm going to go to the website now. Okay. So this is the Capital Development Board website, the Art and Architecture webpage. And there's, again, the link is in the presentation. This first page is just some history. I do have a document of completed projects. And these are just some completed projects over the last 10 years or so. It just shows the wide range of what we purchase or commission. It shows the location, the artist, materials, and the cost, and when it was installed. So feel free to look at this more closely some other time. This is important to note, terrazzo floor designs. So sometimes in more recent years, artists have been hired for building materials because the terrazzo floor would be considered part of the building materials that typically the construction side would cover. But some agencies have been interested in actually having an artist design their floors. So that's a new development of late. So interior, exterior, ceiling installations, realistic, abstract, all different types of materials. Your work could incorporate technology or lighting. Here's examples of artwork purchases. Okay, and going back, commission opportunities. So this link here is probably the most important link that you want to know about. So at the top of commission opportunities, I do have a link for an application guide that I'll show in just a second, but this outlines all the projects advertised. I go through and cross out when they are closed, when we've reached the deadline, but it gives you just some information. But the RFQ link here on the right is the most important link that you want to reference. And it's a multi-page document that includes text and renderings or images, but please make sure you read through that. That tells everything about the construction and artwork project of why you're applying. Okay, going to that application guide. I just want to make sure that you see. So the first page just gives some instructions. That list of portfolio requirements. But here I just kind of have a screenshot of what your email could look like. Your email does not have to be very wordy or explain anything. You could simply just say, I'm applying for this specific project. Attached is my portfolio. And here's all of the attachments. Again, don't include images in your email body. We want everything attached as either PDF, Word, or JPEG. And last, sign up for notifications. So there's a link in the presentation. You just simply put in your email, your name, click Art and Architecture and submit. And every time I post an RFQ, you will also get an email automatically. And that way it tells you, come look at the website, check out the new project, so that you're always in the know about opportunities. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I probably talked a little longer than I should have, but I am so grateful that all of you joined today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Megan.
Thanks, Meredith. I'm going to turn it over to our guest artist here in a second, but we do have a couple questions that I want to make sure we touch on right now. Someone was asking, what's the eligibility requirements? I know you hire Illinois artists to do this work or commission them to do this work, but if someone has left Illinois and then come back, is there a residency requirement of how long they've been in Illinois?
No, there is no requirement on length of time. So essentially, if you live and work in Illinois when you're applying, then you are eligible. So there's no length of time prior to you applying.
Great. And then someone was asking about if they become I guess it's a semifinalist, and then you have them do their preparation for their presentation. A question about when you talked about payment. What does that look like?
Yeah, so after the committee makes their decision, I will then notify all applicants of the results, and then I'll notify the 3 selected semifinalists individually with their design proposal contract. So it's just around a 10-page document that you'll read through, sign or initial where needed. That's executing your contract, and then you can essentially begin your proposal development process. In the very beginning, I'll have that pre-proposal meeting, but it's after that 12 weeks. So when you turn in your proposal to me, which is just via email, typically a PDF document or a PowerPoint presentation, once I receive that proposal from you, then I can submit your invoice to the fiscal department, and they can then process it. So semifinalists don't get paid up front. You get paid after you submit your proposal. Winning artists, they get paid after they complete their contract or the execution of their contract and benchmarks throughout the process.
Great, thanks for that. Okay, let's move on. And we have 2 artists with us here to talk about their experience with the Art and Architecture program. I'm going to turn it over first to Nena Okore, who's going to share a little bit about what her experience with the program and some of her work.
And sorry to interrupt, but Indira did join. So we have 3.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to share my slides. Okay. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here to talk about my work and share my experiences with working on the Art and Architecture project, which was supervised by the CDB. So as mentioned earlier, my name is Nena Okore, and I'm an artist, an educator, and a creative researcher. I'm also currently teaching at North Park University in Chicago. And my focus generally has been on ecological and sustainable learning and thinking about ways in which we can become more aware, and through dialogue and art making, we can become have conversations about the challenges we face today in the world that is rigged with so many problems. And so part of the work that I did was really just thinking about ways to bring about awareness by using materials that are environmentally friendly, biodegradable, like textiles, fiber art, soil, bioplastics. And I use these to create really beautiful, rich tactile surfaces that encourage people to think about their relationship with materials and how they can ethically be sourced and used. And so my work really features many of these environmental subject matters and have been manifested through exhibitions and installations nationally and internationally. And so for my project, the project that I did in the Art and Architecture program that was overseen by the CDB, and commissioned by the CBD, I created a glass installation that was titled Together We Belong Here. And it comprised of 14 very tall, I believe it was about 10 feet tall glass panels that were floated on a wall and displayed at the EPA building in Springfield. And this was an open stairwell area of the building, a newly finished building. And basically the goal of this work was to invite viewers to kind of really engage with a very welcoming and arresting environment as they approach the space and as users do work there. And I felt like that would be a really good way to engage the space by adding so much color and vibrancy to the space. And so the piece basically, again, was just drawing attention to natural, geologic, and bodily forms that highlight the beauty and the complexity of the planet. And at the same time, trying to align with the vision of the EPA, which is set out as taking care of the air, land, water, and keeping it clean. And so using vibrant colors and layered colors, I was able to create this glass work that provoked viewers to think about the interconnectedness between themselves and the environment. I drew inspiration from natural forms like rivers, clouds, coral, and other cellular and modular forms and microorganisms, if you will. For me, it was very important to capture the very delicate and amorphous nature of life. And because it's glass, the painting was also very translucent. So you could see through it, and it also casts a shadow on the wall because it's a little bit floated on the wall. And I was really just very much interested in getting people to think about these things and think about the connections that they have. And when they look at these forms, they could really find ways to connect with the focus that the EPA has and the EPA building in particular is supposed to exude. And so to create this piece, I basically worked with a German company. And I worked with them. I traveled to their facility to experiment, to explore. I think I saw a question in the chat that was asking, does someone have to fabricate for you if you design it? And I think this would answer some of that question that, I designed the piece, but I also did have to work with a fabricator to make sure that my idea was achieved on glass, because I don't necessarily work with glass. I work with fiber and soft fabrics and all forms of textiles. And so this was a way for me to really transfer my work into glass, and it made it really much more exciting and challenging for me. So I really enjoyed that. So I worked with the fabricator for about a year, and collaborating with Meredith and the CDB representatives and the architects, we were able to make my vision come through. And I would tell you that they're an amazing group of people. They're so committed to the work, and they check in on you. They give you all the help and all the resources you need to make the project possible. And so this was exciting for me because I never worked with these materials, but they enabled it and made it possible for me to really engage. The project really taught me a lot. It taught me how to push my boundaries and to continue to seek different opportunities, regardless of how ambitious it is. So again, I think part of it is don't be afraid to try, to dream, to just go for what you think you can do. Think big and just put your best foot forward and present your work in a way that feels coherent and cohesive, and also relates back to the mission of the organization or the institution that you're trying to receive the commission from. That way they can see that you're really taking them seriously. So I think that that is all I have to say, but thank you again for this opportunity.
Thanks so much, Nena. I know we're starting to run up against time, but I really think that this is such a great program. So I hope folks can stick around for a little while. So I'm going to pass it over next to Nando, who's going to talk about his experience with the program.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. I'm going to start off. So I don't have a large or a presentation for you all, but really just want to give you a little bit of background. Illinois artist for over 40 years. I've had the pleasure of actually been selected for several pieces in a lot of state schools that similar to my background that I have here. I work in plexiglass, painting on the reverse side. So you're actually seeing the backside of a painting. These pieces are pretty bright and colorful, and they are scalable. However, the difference between Nena and I is that I'm looking forward to actually looking on for larger installation pieces. I've mainly worked with art and architecture, looking at commission opportunities for smaller pieces to fill either hallways or walls. And usually it's a selection of a lot of general artists that get selected. So I know some of you, as you were looking through the RFQs, there's a lot of commissions for outside sculptures or larger installation pieces, which may seem a little scary, and still seems a little scary for me to go that large. But there are opportunities for folks if you have smaller pieces, maybe in groupings, that do get selected. In terms of the latest commission opportunities that I've had, I've got probably a 10-foot piece at the University of Illinois in Champaign in Lincoln Hall. And then just recently, I was selected for Lincoln Land Community College, which has a large piece of mine also that was selected. My advice to you all, the notifications, I wrote down a note here as one of the presenters was presenting. The email notification is probably the most important thing, because I think we all get busy in our daily lives as either we're creating work or life happens. And then the next thing you know, you click on the commission opportunities and all of a sudden you've missed a deadline of maybe one of the RFQs that your artwork could have been selected. So I do recommend that as some advice. The other thing I would offer as advice is it seems daunting at first, the application process, but everyone who I've worked with has been really helpful in getting me through this. And once you have one down, and you need to make slight modifications to it, I've got pretty much a template ready for myself that if I see an opportunity, I may make some modifications, may make some additions to my artwork and slides and that cover letter, and then send it off. So pretty important, but it's a great program. And look forward to seeing other artists get involved in it. I think one of the coolest things to have is folks that I know that have gone into some of these universities who are getting their pictures taken in front of your artwork. And it's really the coolest thing and most humbling thing for me to be able to have that opportunity. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nando, for sharing that. And then our last artist we have with us today is Indira Johnson.
Oh, yeah. I thought there wasn't going to be a picture. I don't know why there's no picture. My name is Indira Johnson, and I'm really pleased to be here. And I thank the Art and Architecture Program and the Illinois Arts Alliance for inviting me. I think I have a slightly different background, maybe. All of my formal art education was in advertising design. And so I'm pretty much self-taught as far as sculpture goes. And I think my challenge at the beginning was, how do you actually get a project? Because very often one of the caveats is that you have to have some experience before, what have you done in the past? And so it becomes a catch-22. So I used to keep applying. At the beginning, I would just keep applying to various projects and realized that very often I was being, or most often, I was being not being selected, and realized that if I wanted to get experience, I needed to initiate projects myself, which is what I've done. And that has helped me get the experience necessary to do some of the projects, like for the art and architecture program. And I think that when you find an opportunity that you have to see that it relates to you. There are so many opportunities that come up. You have to see, why is this something that attracts you? It it always helps to go visit the sites, because I think you get very often in the call there are pictures of the site and where your sculpture is supposed to be, but it's completely different to go there if you have that opportunity and see, just walk around the environment, maybe talk to some. I've gone and talked to students, gone just to get a feel for the atmosphere. The other thing I realized is, and I think Nando talked about a template. I think the art and architecture program application is a very simple one, and you can have a template. Basically, if you have your resume ready, then that's one of the things. The second thing is you have your slides all ready and the slide list, so that's um, used to be, and I think it's still, they ask you for a statement of interest. That's not quite a template, but I've divided that into 3 paragraphs. And I do, the first paragraph is basically, why do I think I am a good fit for this particular project? What in my background or my interests or whatever makes me really interested to apply for this project? The second paragraph mostly talks about a little bit about maybe some of my past projects that relate to this. If it's a university, maybe I'm a community artist, so I've done a lot of work in community. Maybe I've worked with students, and so I feel like that's gives me some relationship to this particular project. I also, and the third paragraph is mostly just talking about the materials that I've used in some of my work. Like I've used a lot of different materials, and then talking about the way I've been able to work with architects and engineers, and because I think a lot of the art and architecture program, they want to know if you've had that experience. Also with community people. Um, so I think, though, if you have that template ready, then when you see the opportunity, you already have more than half of it done. And then I usually keep the final date, I usually make that 3 days before, so that I'm not that very last um, person trying to, with so many other people trying to upload their slides or images. That gives me a little bit of lead time in case I notice something that I don't like or I want to change. So that's sort of the practical way I've had. I didn't realize, I mean, I don't have slides, but I have the piece that I've done for the University of Illinois. I used fiberglass and resin and it was a large piece. There were, I think, 14 pieces as part of that installation. And then I've done work at the Chicago Veterans Home, which was, again, I also used fiberglass and resin. And that was, again, a very large piece. Since then, I've been working with, I've done a piece with Corten steel. And so I think the idea is that you just challenge yourself. If you want to use some particular material and don't know anything about it, which I think starts with me, you start to do research and you find the fabricator who could help you do that. And I think it's to think broadly and push your boundaries. And I think that's what these opportunities offer. And I think it's important to just keep applying. If you think you're a good fit, apply for it. And that experience then comes in handy, even if you don't get it, for the next one. So good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Indira. You kind of wrapped it all up with your tips and everything. So I really appreciate that. If folks can stick around, we do have a few questions that have come in. And majority of these are for you, Meredith. I'm not surprised. Folks had questions about when it's an acquisition opportunity. So not a commission for a project, but acquiring art that they've already created. Do you have a sense of what percentage of the opportunities are acquisitions? And do folks go through the same process with providing a portfolio and all of that if it was a commission opportunity?
Yes. So here's the commission opportunities page. Though it says it's titled commission opportunities, it's the same page where I list purchases. So you might be able to see it here. When I post the title or where it's located, the majority are commissions for a custom piece to be designed. However, when it's an artwork purchase, I will notate that in this middle column. And the portfolio is essentially the same, but again, always read the RFQ to read all the details or if there are already minor tweaks. But in general, what you submit, the portfolio for commission or artwork purchases is generally the same. The only minor tweak is that if it is for an artwork purchase, you are listing the purchase price. So that's what the committee looks at, and we tally up, we make a large groupings of which art we're interested in during that committee meeting. And the price you put on your image list is how we add up or, go down the list to make our total funds. And your images must be works that are available at the time to purchase. We have had artists who, it's a several month process in between. So when someone might apply, they may have done an art fair between and sold that piece. Just simply email me if a piece is no longer available, and I'll take that out of the portfolio list running. But to kind of tie in with what Nando and Indira were saying, if there's any question at all, always email me any questions. I will help you immensely along the way. And apply. Just apply when you want, when you can, when you're interested. You'll get that routine of what's expected. I keep everything on file that you've submitted. So I've had an artist who, has the computer was stolen or something where their whole portfolio on their end has been gone. I've been able to recover it on my end and provide it. So just be, don't worry. I'm here to help. And for any questions or anything like that along the way.
Great. A follow-up was about the format to include in the portfolio. Some folks were wondering, can they provide their work through video? And if they do digital work, can they just somehow indicate that their work is available at any size that's needed?
Yes. So if it's an artwork purchase portfolio, we've had artists on their image list say, if it's photography, for example, at the top of their image list, it says, I can print in this size for this amount, this size for this amount, and then just list the artwork from there. So they don't necessarily put an individual price on every single piece. They could print it at whatever size the agency wants at that specific cost. Regarding video, it's not recommended to provide video of your work just because of the parameters of how we view things. If it's a must, always ask me. Feel free. I'm actually pretty lenient, but I put everything in a PDF. And depending on where I'm presenting to these committees, technology is not always the best. Internet may not work. So if it's just a standard PDF, Word document, or JPEG, it generally works. If I have to go to the internet or, have a video application, it just may not be the way you want it to be. So it's not ideal and not preferred to have any type of video.
And we're going to wrap it up here shortly, but one final question. We have someone here who's from a municipality, and they're wondering how can they, as a municipality, be able to somehow access or connect with this program so that they could benefit their community by having artwork and artists bring in their work.
Yes, so I've had inquiries about this in the past, and I've touched base with different people in our agency, and it doesn't lean towards working in your favor in that regard, because our funds are specifically for state-owned and state-funded buildings, which is then tied to the artwork. So if it's a municipality-owned building, then we would not qualify. So our legislation is specifically when there's construction or renovation for a state-owned building, then we receive funds if eligible. So my program cannot assist or manage any artwork projects for a municipality.
Okay, well, we're definitely over time, but really appreciate all of this incredible information that you've shared. Thank you, Meredith, Nando, Nana, and Indira, for sharing all of your experience and your insights and your tips. I think it's going to be really helpful for all the folks who are here and who are listening to this recording afterward. If you have a question that we weren't able to get to, or if you have something that's following up, you can come to our help desk. You can get additional resources. The link just got popped in the chat, artsalliance.org/support. You can also email help@artsalliance.org, and we can connect you with the speakers today or help to provide any other information that you're looking for. So thanks, everybody. Stay cool out there, and we really appreciate your time and look forward to talking with you in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.